Mr. Smith was killed
Experts
while
have confirmed
surfing.
reports 2 sharks
The
were
beaches
involved.
around Gracetown
One
remain
surfing.
closed.
The lower half of his body rose up and I could see the extent of his wounds and how much damage the sharks had inflicted on him. There was no sign of life at all.
It was July 10th of 2004, and local surfers, including 29-year-old Bradley Smith from Shoalwater, were gathered just off the coast of the Indian Ocean at southwestern Australia's Left-Handers Beach near Gracetown on what was a seemingly ideal day for a surf. To Brad, surfing wasn't merely a hobby. It was in fact, according to those closest to him, like his parents Jenny and Ian, more of a career or way of life.
He was one of those surfing blokes for whom surfing was really the career.
That's right, he had to have the money, so he did sort of 6 months' work, so to speak. And then he'd save up enough money, next 6 months he'd be nothing but surfing.
On arrival, an eager Brad and his group pretty much immediately commenced with routine preparations, checking surfing conditions, waxing boards, and suiting up. Left-Handers Beach, favored for its consistent breaks, was busy with surfers and spectators alike, all drawn to the spot for its reputation as a friendly and accessible surfing location. With ideal surfing conditions, coupled with clear skies and large but manageable waves, Brad, along with a friend and 3 others, were all smiles as they entered the water, excited to make the most of the awesome swells before them. As the group enjoyed their surf, choosing which waves to ride with the practiced eyes of seasoned surfers, they were of course oblivious to the imminent danger lurking beneath the surface. In what seemed like the blink of an eye, a loud, piercing scream suddenly shattered the tranquil ambience when a massive, approximately 4.5 meter or 14.7 foot long great white shark struck him from below, partially breaching with him in its mouth before splashing back into the water and violently moving its head from side to side in an effort to rip him apart. A common and not to mention efficient technique that sharks often use to rip chunks of meat and fat off their prey. Brad's companions and a bunch of witnesses who'd heard his initial scream watched in horror as he gave it everything he had in a final attempt to fight off the massive shark, who according to one eyewitness was the size of a car.
It was clear that he was still fighting it.
Yeah, he was giving it a good go, like really just trying to hit it, but it was quite futile. Trying to punch the shark and trying to get the shark off him as much as he could, but it was just such a huge shark that I don't know, it didn't really stand a chance, sort of.
As they looked on, frozen in terror, Cameron and Mitch would then suddenly notice a sight so rare that there are only a handful of documented cases of them in recorded history. A dual shark attack on a human.
After they stopped mauling him and they disappeared, you could just see him lying face down in the water like that.
According to eyewitness reports, the second shark was approximately 3 meters in length and was likely also a great white, although it is worth mentioning that some believe that it was a bronze whaler, another species of shark which is perfectly capable of killing a human, but does so much less often than, say, a great white would, as of course they are notorious for being the species of shark that kills the most humans every year. Brad's severed remains were then recovered from the water, and the response from the authorities was swift, with St. John's ambulance personnel and police attending the scene and confirming Brad's passing shortly after being alerted by witnesses at the beach. The beach was thereafter quickly closed, and authorities issued a warning to nearby beaches, which were also closed as a precautionary measure, as of course sharks tend to travel, and not to mention dominate, a fairly large territory. News of the incident spread rapidly, leaving locals as well as the wider surfing community in a state of shock, not to mention panic, since many of them were like Ian and Jenny, parents of kids who love surfing.
There are things you can do to lower your chances and raise your chances. Going out there now is definitely raising your chances. Hungry sharks have been spotted out here. That's not a place where I'd go surfing. It's the overcast sky, it's the grey, leaden sort of surface of the sea there. Getting in the water at this time of day under these sorts of conditions where you know there are great white sharks about, maybe not the smartest.
Shark expert Mike Renfelt observed that despite multiple eyewitness reports leaving the exact species unidentified, the aggressive behavior of forcibly ejecting the surfer from his board aligns with that which is considered typical of a great white shark. Generally, they're solitary, especially the large ones, so this collaboration is quite rare. I would have thought that this behavior could help in identifying them if they were working together. Renfelt recommended that the sharks be eliminated promptly, but despite this, Brad's family shockingly requested that the animals' lives be spared.
That's how he would have wanted to go if anything was going to happen to him. He would like the water to be the place.
It is also worth noting that Renfelt highlighted a notable change in the typical timeline for increased shark activity. He noted that usually at the end of the year, Coinciding with whale migrations was previously considered the riskiest period, as sharks typically like to hunt them for their blubber, as indicated in the plethora of videos that they can be observed feeding on dead whale carcasses. So once again, it was this whale migration time that was previously seen as the riskiest period when it came to shark attacks, even on humans, and the events of 2004 have indicated that the threat from great white sharks along the southwest coast requires constant alertness throughout the year.
Oh, this is a spot. You're a surfer? Would you go in there?
Not for $1 million. The only way the shark can actually test anything to see whether it's edible or not is to bite it.
The attack on Brad Smith was unusual because it involved not one, but two sharks. A very unique and rare situation, as sharks, especially species like the great white, typically hunt solo. Now in my opinion, the second shark joining in might have been sort of like a seizing the moment type of situation, where it was attracted by the initial impact caused by the first shark. Or in other words, this feeding behavior may be characterized as opportunistic. Some experts who've analyzed the incident have also considered various other factors, such as the presence of bait fish, environmental conditions, or unusual sensory cues that could have attracted both sharks to the same location at the same time. However, despite the efforts of all these experts, the data from just a handful of documented double great white shark attacks was still quite frankly not sufficient enough to draw any conclusive evidence as to why they occur, and thus makes our understanding of such attacks even today fairly limited. These are the reasons why the bizarre nature of the attack on Brad, as well as those of course on just a handful of other victims, such as surfer Shannon Ainsley, who was extremely lucky to make it out alive after being attacked by two great white sharks. I'll leave that episode for you at the end screen of this video.
I remember just staring at the shark face to face with his mouth wide open, and I could see his one eye staring right into my face, and I could see all of his teeth. The fears and the thoughts and the emotions I was going through were just indescribable. I was 15 years old. I wanted to surf, and yeah, these sharks just attacked me, and I'm about to die.
But that also occurred in Australia. It's incidents like these that went on to influence surfer safety rules, which mostly just consider encounters with a single shark, which in itself is already horrific enough. Given how rare this kind of attack is, it's tough to draw solid conclusions like I said, but it is nevertheless a goldmine for researchers studying shark attack behavior, because it highlights just how important it is for us to understand their ways, not just when it comes to keeping surfers safe, but also for shark conservation, which will always remain a key aspect of maintaining a healthy balance in our marine ecosystems. If this episode piqued your interest, then our previous episode about the gruesome details behind the worst shark attack in history is likely to do the same.
1,100 men went into the water. Didn't see the first shark for about half an hour. 13-footer, you know that when you're in the water, Chief? You tell by looking from the dorsal to the tail.
Hit that like and subscribe button if you're new. Once again, this is Animal Al. Be safe out there. Till next time.